punches you in the face or something.
Hi everyone, Miranda here. So today I am privileged enough to be joined by the lovely Ellie Marney.
Thank you.
Yay!
Thank you for having me.
She is the author, if you don't know, of Every Breath and the every trilogy. I wanted to leave this story till the interview.
This is not an embarrassing story.
It's not an embarrassing story. You're the author that actually got me into YA Australian novels. And I can remember in 2013,
really nice.
walking into Dimmicks and seeing your book on the bookshelf. And at the beginning, I was a bit hesitant at picking it up. But then when I gave it a go, I just fell in love with the characters and the world and the fact that it was based in Australia. Never in my wildest dreams would I have imagined that 3 years later, I'd be sitting here interviewing you.
I can't believe that you picked up my book.
For those of you that don't know Every Breath, I guess my first question.
Checking on the call sheet.
Tell us about the Every series. Plot, characters.
The Every series is Every Breath. This one, Every Word, that's the second book.
It's the blue one.
See, this is my copy with all of the post-it. Every Move, which is the third book. My pages are all coming up at the sides here. That's okay. It gets used a lot. They're YA crime thrillers and they're set in Melbourne. This one goes on to London and then I take the characters from Melbourne again to the Mallee. For the first book, I was asked, what is it in one tweet? Wannabe Sherlock Holmes and his girl Watson fall into danger and into each other's arms while investigating a murder near the Melbourne Zoo.
I was actually surprised when Melbourne Zoo came up in it.
Oh, were you?
Yeah, I was just
you
like,
weren't
oh,
expecting
wow,
the zoo
Melbourne
to just
Zoo.
appear magically.
I can picture the Melbourne Zoo so well because I've been here so many times.
Yes, everyone in Melbourne has visited the Melbourne Zoo.
What was your inspiration behind these covers?
Like most book authors, I have absolutely no control over the cover images. All the covers were actually designed by an amazing lady from Allen and Unwin, Lisa White. And so she's a little bit psychic, I think, because she picked out this guy. They sent me a number of different...
The little hoodie.
A different
a bit rebellious.
Mycrofts, yes, with the hoodie. I was like, oh, you know, well, what do you think of these ones? And then they sent me this guy. That's him, that's the guy. To do these ones, because the covers for each of them were designed pretty much back to back. I hadn't actually even written this book, this stage, or this book. All I knew was the characters were going to London. She got the tone of the books really well. You know, this kind of more melancholy kind of blue and the character's kind of looking a bit darker and he's looking down. And this one is where Mycroft, you know, gets all angst-ridden. Then in the final one, they had this lovely colouring already, this sunny kind of golden colouring. And this is the book where I sent them up to the Mallee.
Some stuff went down in that third book.
Yeah, stuff did go down.
down.
Really relieved to be able to say, oh, look, this is my beautiful book.
How did you come up with writing this series? What were your thoughts?
I have always had a long-standing love of Sherlock Holmes. When I was looking at writing a book, I'd written a number of adult short stories. A number of them were shortlisted for prizes.
Oh, wow.
So the big one that I won was the Scarlet Stiletto Award, which is run by Sisters in Crime Australia. They're a grassroots organisation that supports women writers, and I won it in 2010 with a crime story. And I thought, well, hey, I seem to do okay with this crime story business. I'll write crime. YA crime, because YA has always been my passion. I've been reading YA since I was a teenager and I haven't really stopped.
It's a good genre, isn't it?
It's fantastic. And there wasn't much...
Especially like Australian and crime.
The fact that Sherlock, the series on TV, and Elementary came out at around the same time as this book was just good luck.
Mycroft and Watts are two of my favourite crime fighting teens.
Okay.
I think they have to be.
I like them too.
Now,
I'm biased.
They get themselves into some really interesting situations.
Yes, they do.
That escalate throughout the three books,
yes,
I must
do.
say. To make it as authentic as possible for the reader, what kind of research did you do?
For Every Breath, I obviously walked around the Melbourne Zoo quite a lot. So I went to St Kilda Road Police Headquarters.
I was thinking you have to...
You can go into the foyer if you have an inquiry, which I did. I basically lied.
Oh.
I went in and made some inquiries. While I was in there, I kind of madly looked around. You know, you can't take photos or anything like that, but it's very hard to find information about that facility, obviously. I tried to get into the Victorian Institute of Forensic Medicine. They won't even let you in the door. They are very, very particular. It's funny, because then when I went to London, because I had to go to London.
For that book?
Yes.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, I got halfway through writing it and Google Earth was really only taking me so far. You know, there's that old writer's saying of write what you know. Well, I think that actually applies very much to location. My husband said, I think you should go to London. And I was like, yeah, sure. Yeah. And I did get about halfway through and thought, yeah, I kind of probably do. I went to Westminster Mortuary to investigate there. Wow. I spoke to an anatomical and pathology assistant there, and I was given a tour of their forensic suite, because that's a place where if there's a major incident in London, all the bodies go to the mortuary there. And the forensic suite, I think it was commissioned about 5 years ago, and I got to look in the post-mortem room, and there was actually an autopsy going on when I arrived. They sort of said, well, look, you know, we have to wait for a little while until we can take you through, because there's a procedure happening.
Put that in the book in a way.
Well, I did. Yeah. I actually wrote a lot of it in, and I went to the Sherlock Holmes Museum. I also went to the Bodleian Library, and if you're into books, you know Shakespeare is like God. The first folio, which is his first published edition of his works compiled into one volume. Well, there's only a few hundred copies left in the world. I knew they had one at the Bodleian Library. I said I'd like to look at some books. I had to put in a special submission to view books that were written at around the same time period.
It's the book.
Yeah, £20 to walk through and sort of see it in there in the glass case. I came out and I was seriously hyperventilating.
Especially as something from the past like that.
I know.
It does things to you.
I had to go to the Mallee for this book and basically just look around at the landscape. Very isolated. It's encroaching on the desert, or rather the desert's encroaching on the land. And it really informed how I developed Rachel's character in the last book, knowing that she came from this very isolated place where she had to be really self-sufficient.
Tell us about the characters. Are they based on real people?
Oh no.
How did they come to life?
Not really based on real people. There's an author called Diana Gabaldon, and she says writing is a cannibal's art. So you take bits and pieces of people that you know, people that you've heard about on the news, and then kind of stew them all together.
How did you come up with their names?
James Mycroft was that name right from the start. I mean, I wanted to make a young Sherlock, but I didn't want to call him Sherlock. I sort of thought, okay, well, the next best thing is to call him Mycroft, who was Sherlock's much smarter older brother. But it wasn't until later that I realised that in the original canon, Sherlock's nemesis, Moriarty, is James Moriarty. Mycroft in this book is kind of like his own worst enemy.
He is! Oh my gosh, I never realised how you got the names.
I know, and I didn't figure it out until ages either. Rachel, well, she was Rachel from the start. She
just came to your head, Rachel.
Just like that. The first line of the first book, here I am in the photo from 7 years ago, a 10-year-old rural in a blue dress. That actually was the first line that I ever wrote. As soon as I heard it, I knew who she was.
Yeah, because some authors write like from the middle and then they get back.
For some reason I got that first line. That was pretty much the first thing I ever wrote.
Interesting fact. Let's talk about the characters. We'll talk about the two protagonists. Rachel, is she your favourite? How did she
I love
evolve?
Rachel. It's first person. I basically had Rachel kind of sitting in my head for 5 years. She's brave in every way and she's extremely self-sufficient. Country girl too. So I mean, I'm from the country. I couldn't climb up on the scaffolding. There's a point where she has to do some serious climbing, and I couldn't do that.
That was definitely the point in the book where I was truly addicted.
Oh really? I was in the scaffolding scene.
That's when I became like, oh my gosh, I must read what happens
I'm
next.
much more like James Mycroft in the book, where he's like petrified of heights.
Let's talk about James. He's a bit of a heartthrob to some YA
he's
girls
so
out there. He's lovely.
A bit of a dork.
Yeah,
sometimes.
Be a bit of a dork. There's a point in every book that I see that it always turns. He can be all nice to Rachel, and all of a sudden he gets really cold.
Yes.
And I don't know what triggers that.
I don't think he knows what triggers that. You know, he's very bright. Also quite friendly. He's not like the original Sherlock Holmes. James and Rachel know about their names, a bit of a play on Holmes and Watson. They kind of joke around with that. It's a bit of an in-joke throughout the whole series. He has a bit of a dark past, but I don't think he's very self-aware for a long time about his own reactions to people.
What's your favourite moment with the characters?
From each book? That's so hard.
Okay, from the first. We'll go from the first.
That first scene where Rachel goes to visit him at his house. I remember writing that, and it was very, very vivid when he like pulls the door open and he's standing there in his robe with a cigarette hanging out of his mouth. And also the finale. My heart was just pounding while I was writing that. So I was thinking, okay, well, I'm having a really emotional, and my hands were shaking, and I was having this really emotional reaction while I was writing it. So I was thinking, well, if I'm having a really emotional reaction, probably the people reading it will have a reaction too.
We all kind of cried a little bit. So I think you got the emotional reaction out of everyone. Rachel is obviously originally from the country as well. Did you bring your relation from the country into her character?
Yeah, well, I'm a country girl.
A country girl.
I mean, I grew up in the country in Queensland. A lot of Rachel's reaction when she first comes to the city, where she's been kind of turfed out of her country life and thrust into this place, she's just like, oh God, this is the pits. That was my initial reaction when I first came down to Melbourne. It was very exciting. Oh my God, it's so overwhelming.
And it must be, I went to Clunes the other week for Clunes Booktown.
Yeah, well, you know what it's like there now.
I know what it's like there.
It's really
It's
quiet.
so different.
It's very quiet,
from the
and
city.
you can drive a long way without seeing another car.
How do you write? What motivates you? Drink tea, coffee, keep you awake?
I write early in the morning. I have a large family. I had to get up early for this one because my children are still small. So I was getting up at like 4:45 in the morning
How did you manage that?
because I was really in love with it, and I used to actually really bounce out of bed thinking, oh great, I can get back into the story. Things have changed now. I still get up early in the morning, but I have a little bit more time during the day now. I drink 1 cup of coffee, but if I drank coffee all day, my eyeballs would be popping out of my head. I don't listen to music.
That's a question that's getting brought up a lot, even with reading. Do you listen to music?
I find it a bit distracting. I recently went away on retreat with a bunch of writer friends. When you're writing in one house together in the big group, there's a lot of people all moving around. It can be a little distracting. I actually thought, oh, okay, I'll listen to some music, listen to some classical or something, but then I ended up using music. I would have told you after writing these 3 books that I would never be able to listen to music while I was writing. Sarah Rees Brennan convinced me to put my headphones on and get into it with my most recent manuscript.
There you go.
I think your process changes
It does.
all the time.
What genres interest you, outside of YA?
I kind of read more YA. I read crime. I'm always hunting around for new YA crime. There was hardly any YA crime, and now
Yeah,
you're sort of
there's a
seeing
few
more.
now.
There's
YA
quite a lot.
as a genre is just expanding so much. We're getting different types of books.
Science
different
fiction.
universes.
I love science fiction.
Science fiction's fantastic.
Yeah, I used to read a lot of fantasy, but I think I'm getting more and more science fiction as I go on. And contemp. I read a lot of contemporary.
Where is the Every series available? Now, you got some exciting news about that now, not just Australia. There's a basket.
I've got a basket.
I've got the basket.
Well, US and Canada. Copies of Every Breath and Every Word was
Wow,
released
look
by...
at those covers.
I know,
So
they're really
different.
different. I think whoever designed this one was thinking of Benedict Cumberbatch.
Cover, not soft cover.
Yeah, I know. I don't know why we don't get hardcovers for teenage books in Australia. We can't look after nice things. Both come out through Tundra Books, through Random House. People have been emailing me and saying, when's the 3rd book coming? And I've always just saying, look, call the publisher.
I love
Lovely
those.
spines.
Oh.
Rachel, after she settles in the 1st book, she joins a roller derby crew called the Fitzroy Furies. You can see her wearing her Fitzroy Furies singlet.
Oh, she is too.
She is. So you can sort of see the Fitzroy part.
That's a
here at the
fangirl
top.
moment
I
right
know.
there. What is next for you? Any upcoming events? Any new books that we can be excited about?
I just submitted my next manuscript.
Details that we can get?
No,
No.
no, I'm not
We'll keep
allowed.
down.
Yeah, it'll be standalone.
Now, when you say standalone, are you sure it's going to be a standalone?
I'm
'Cause
sure it's going to be
authors
standalone.
usually do trilogies.
Actually, Every Breath was going to be a standalone, and then it was turned into a series. I had many thoughts after writing this book, and I started writing them all down, and then when the editors said to me, do you think maybe you'd like to write another book? And I was like, oh yes, it's definitely a standalone, so far as I know.
We don't know 100% yet.
Events.
Events.
I'm going to Tarnite Library, and I'm going to be there with Kate Kennedy. And I'm also going to the CBCA, the Children's Book Council of Australia. I'm going to be there with Will Kostakis and Melissa Keel and Gabrielle Tozer.
Did you always want to become an author?
Yes. Seriously, remember on foolscap paper, and I had this folder that I used to take on the bus with me to school. I was always sort of told that this is a bit of an impossible dream. Oh no, that'll never happen. That's like wanting to be an astronaut.
I think if you just stick to it, keep writing. Just
Yeah.
keep writing. If you could go back in time and talk to yourself when you were little, what words
What
of
would I
motivation would you give?
I would just say keep going. Don't get so stressed out about it. Don't be put off by university. So I was really intimidated. No, don't be stupid. Just keep writing, you know.
Now we had a question come in from Ebony. She asked along with Ali, what supermarkets do you go to?
What supermarkets do I go to?
I think it was a relation when you had your launch last year that we went to. You went to the supermarket.
Oh, I was at the
beforehand or
supermarket and I had the picture of all the cheese.
I think that's right.
That was it. I have this amazing supermarket up near where I live. It's IGA. That's all you have. Our local IGA is awesome. It has this amazing wall full of cheese. It's just...
Cheese is good, isn't it?
Yeah, good cheese is amazing. It's
Nick,
like an international deli.
what's your favourite cheese?
What's your favourite cheese? He's
Shaking
shaking his
his
head.
head.
Does that mean that you don't like cheese?
Oh, he can't eat cheese. Oh,
No.
no cheese.
He's doing the sad.
Cheeky Ali has brought in this book for a giveaway.
I have.
So she's going to sign it live, proof that she's signed the book to whoever it may concern. If you win this book, it is signed by Ali in front of Miranda with Nick as witness.
I have a long signature.
I don't think you ever signed my first book.
I didn't. Give it to me now. Give it to me now. Seriously.
So
there you go. Now
this is
don't
the
mix them up.
That's my one. This is the giveaway
okay.
one. By commenting down below, I'll put you like on a random.org. Ellie, what should be the code word?
The game's afoot. That's too many words.
That's okay. Leave at the end of your comment if you want a signed book by Ellie.
The game's afoot.
The game's afoot.
The game's afoot.
Our game's afoot. Thank you so much for being on my channel and talking about your book.
Thank you so much for loving it.
Hi Miranda, this is Ellie. That's
later.
Nick over. Do you want to
Thanks,
pop in
Nick.
for the last like
Thanks,
second of the
Nick.
video? You gotta say
Cameraman.
thanks. Scar's best friend Nick. Thank you so much for watching. See you.
See you later.